Hi viewers, I am Dr. M. Ashraf Majroo, Professor of Community Medicine. I welcome you in the seminar Combating Deadly Pandemic COVID-19. It consists of two sessions. Session 1 is Epidemiology and Dynamics of COVID-19. And the second session will be on disease surveillance and response. So let's start the first session. The highlights of the first session are about, we will tell about the deadly pandemic and the pandemic progression landmark, then epidemiological profile of COVID-19, then mode of transmission, chain of transmission, and intervention strategy. So we will discuss one by one, and let us start about the deadly pandemic. So this deadly pandemic, coronavirus disease, named now as COVID-19, and it is highly communicable infectious disease caused by severe acute respiratory syndrome virus named as SARS-CoV-2. It emerged in Wuhan city of China and spread around the world. Now it is worldwide deadly epidemic. It is involving more than 200 countries. It is a great challenge and threat for the human life. So we have to design strategy to combat this deadly pandemic. The fact sheet is that up till now today, while I am talking about cases and more than 90,000 deaths have been occurred worldwide, and 200 countries, all regions of the globe are affected. The WHO has declared it as public health emergency of international concern, and China was the epicenter of this pandemic. Later on, the Europe, America are worse affected. Highest fatality is observed up till now in Italy, and the highest cases are reported from USA. The situation is changing day by day, and the severity in USA is increasing. The reports from the New York City, Delhi, they are the worsening condition in New York. The worldwide economy is crashed by this deadly pandemic due to the lockdown strategies and stay home strategies. All the businesses, they are halted. China has very quick, successful response and stopped this transmission. Now they are partially opening their cities. This is one of the hope that the human effort can combat with this pandemic, and this pandemic can be stopped. The urgency of this pandemic, the mortality, as I have already declared, more than 90,000 deaths has been occurred, and the fatality vary from country to country. The overall fatality at this point of time is 5.97, and the situation may be changed as the epidemic is in progress. The mortality about 1.5 million cases, the highest were reported from USA. The economy impact worldwide, all businesses are closed, highest economy loss ever observed from this epidemic. The psychological impact cannot ignored. The peoples, they are in obsessions, and the physiological, psychological impacts are inevitable as the people, they have changed their lifestyle. And similarly, the social impact of this epidemic, all the social and religious rituals are banned by the governments. by the policies to curtail the epidemic. So all the social life has been seized by this epidemic. So these are the urgency points. So we have to deal briskly to save the humanity. Now, what is the WHO? Why the WHO have declared it public health emergency of international concern? The WHO have some criteria, and under this criteria, certain questions are asked. These questions: is the public health impact of the event is serious? The next question: is the event usual or unexpected? Is the significant risk of international spread? Is there significant risk of international travel or trade restriction? So the answer to all these questions are in yes. It is serious. It is unexpected. It spread internationally, and the travel restrictions are there. So all are the yes. The WHO criteria is 2 yes will declare the public health emergency of international concern. So there is no hesitation to declare it as public health emergency of international concern. The propagation landmark of the pandemic. The first day, the cluster of 27 severe pneumonia cases were reported from Wuhan city of China, and this was the originating point or trigger point of this epidemic. Then on 9th January, CDC confirmed that this disease is caused by a specific organism which is later on coded as SARS-CoV-2. SARS is the severe acute respiratory syndrome. SARS-1 was the virus that causes this disease. Now it is the next another strain. On 20th January, outside the China, 3 countries reported cases from Thailand, Japan, and Korea. So this was on 20th January. On 20th January, the pandemic ex-China cases were reported, and then first case of Europe was reported on 24th January, and the person have travel history from China. On 30th January is the landmark when it was declared as public health emergency of international concern. Then coronavirus disease 19 SARS-CoV-2 was named as COVID-19 on 11th February 2020. On 11 March, the COVID-19 WHO declared it as pandemic as it was spreaded in 124 countries, and 1,18,000 deaths had occurred at that time. So today, while I am talking, the pandemic is on the highest peak, and 1.5 million, more than 1.5 million cases and 90,000 death has been occurred in 200 countries all over the regions worldwide. So this is the progression, and this indicates that the pandemic fallout is not yet started. Now, what is the epidemiological profile of COVID-19? Let's discuss the epidemiology of COVID-19. So, as it is caused by coronavirus, what is coronavirus? Coronavirus is not a single virus. It is a family of viruses, and it is notorious for causing epidemics. The previous epidemics with this family are the common cold and severe acute respiratory syndrome and Middle East respiratory syndrome. So this is the new strain. The most recent COVID-19 outbreak involves a new strain that previously had not been identified in human beings. So basically, the virus of this family, they are zoonotic virus. They usually found in the bats and other mammals, and they accidentally they get access to the humans, and then human to human spread is there. So, learning about the infectious agent, as I have told, this is called SARS-CoV-2 virus, and it is the same that causes the severe acute respiratory syndrome. And previously, the epidemic have been reported in 2002 with SARS, and in 2012 Middle East respiratory syndrome. These two epidemics, they were caused by the same family viruses. The as I have already talked about that it is basically animal found in camels, cats, fruit bats, and accidentally are with mutation. It changes its host, and the host, when it get hosted in the human, then human to human spread is there. The new strain SARS-CoV-2 is also believed to be the zoonotic in origin. So some of the pathological characteristics, structure of the virus, as it is shown in the figure, it is encapsulated, oval shaped, spherical shaped, and the pleomorphism is also noted in this. It is envelope particle containing single stranded positive sense RNA and associated with the nucleoprotein within a capsid comprised of a matrix protein. The envelope bears club-shaped glycoprotein projections. So this is the structure, and let's see how it is transmitted. But what is the phylogeny? Phylogeny, as I already discussed, the CoV-2 is not yet exactly known, but same, considering the previous knowledge about the zoonotic family of viruses. This may be the bat may be the primary host, and incidentally or accidentally it through mutations it has infected the humans, and then or it act as intermediate host, and then it is transmitted to human, and then human to human spread. When there is human to human spread, then this virus rapidly transmitted from one person to another person. So COVID-19 pandemic impact, if we look at the impact in comparison to other zoonotic viruses, there are 5 zoonotic viruses in the history which are having high mortality. One is the Ebola virus, Nipah virus, SARS, MERS, and COVID-19. The commonality is that they are all zoonotic viruses. Their usual hosts are mammals and like cows, bats, and camels. But they have caused the human, their strain, the mutant strain has caused the human pathology, and Ebola is the hemorrhagic fever caused by the Ebola virus. And Nipah virus causes the encephalitis and respiratory syndrome. And these three viruses, they are the causing mainly the respiratory symptoms. So if we compare the fatality was highest by Nipah virus, but it was only in 2 countries, so it has not much population impact. And then Ebola was in 9 countries and fatality was 40%. So it has serious impact as pandemic. SARS spread in 29 countries and fatality rate was 9.6%. MERS in 28 countries and the fatality was 34.4%. So in comparison to MERS, the fatality rate of COVID-19 is less. But if we look at the other points on the population impacts, it is involving more than 200 countries. So the population impact and the deaths are more than 90,000 and still it is in progress. It has not yet achieved its peak. And the fatality may rise many times. It can't be commented at this point of time. So this is the comparison. Now the incubation period. The incubation period of the coronavirus or SARS-CoV-2 is 2 to 14 days. And this is the estimated, and it will be refined when more data become available. The infectious period is the period when the person who is contacted or who is infected that can transmit the organism to other persons. So that duration is known as infectious period. The infectious period depend upon the symptoms, and it varies from 1 to 25 days after the contact or after getting the symptoms. Not much known about the contagiousness, but a recent paper I have retrieved from the Lancet. The paper was published on 19th March 2020. The contagiousness has been studied. The contagiousness depending upon the symptoms, and the first day of the contact is taken as the contagion, and the contagiousness lasts up to 14 days if the persons are asymptomatic, and if the symptoms are severe, mild and moderate, then it extends to 3 weeks, and the person will be contagious from first day to 21st day. And if the symptoms are severe or critical, then the contagiousness may extend to 25 days. So this is the study. The viral load is with the symptoms. If symptoms are severe, the viral load is more and it lasts for 14 days, and if the symptoms are severe, then it may last up to 25 days. So we can say from this previous data and a new published paper that the infectious period with asymptomatic is from day 1 to 14th day. Infectious period with mild to moderate symptom is day 1 to 21 days, and infectious period in severe or critical cases from day 1 to 25 days. So this is the contagiousness. Now another factor which determine the transmission, which is known as transmission index. This is known as the R0 scale. The average number of people that one person with a virus infect based on the naught scale. If R naught scale is 1, that means one infected person can infect another one. So the COVID-19 has varies from 2 to 2.5. That means one infected person can infect 2 to 3 persons. And you can compare this with the MERS. MERS, in case of MERS, it was 2.5 to 2.7. So the transmission index for the MERS was greater than the CoV-2. And it was also greater than but the COVID-19 has greater infectiousness as compared to Ebola and H1N1 influenza. So this is the infection. That means the progression is one person can infect about 2 to 3 persons. Now the epidemiology talking about the age distribution, gender, race and ethnicity and comorbidity. The age case fatality is high in elderly group and rare cases are reported from the pediatric age. Cases and fatality are high with the elderly people. The gender, the frequency is more among the female as compared to males. In the racial, no comment can be given on the races. The epidemic is in progress and this association is yet to be established. The ethnicity is also not established. All ethnic groups, they are involved and the pandemic is in progress. The data will decide about these associations. The comorbidity up till now has been established. The fatality rate of the cases are associated with comorbidity, mean the already existing disease potentiate the fatality and the infections with COVID-19. Here you can appreciate the age association is very obvious. 14% with 80 plus, 8% with 72 and 3.6% with 60 to 69 and then it falling down, and in pediatric age it is minimum 0.2%. Though no age is exempted, but the fertility is decreasing as the age is decreasing. And then death with the associated diseases, the heart disease fertility rate is increased up to 10.5%, diabetes 7.4%, chronic respiratory illness 6.3%, high blood pressure 6% and cancer 5.6%. And if the person have no disease, even then the fertility is 0.9 to 1%. And still I say, as the more data will come about the pandemic, then this will be more clear situation. Similarly, the place distribution, global, all regions are involved, more than 200 countries are affected. Urban-rural pandemic is still not decided which one is more affected. Similarly, the polar association is yet to be decided. Ambient conditions, the people are ambitious that the hot weather may halt the pandemic in around the equator or in developing countries, but this is still an ambition, but it is not proven by data. And similarly, no altitude association has been established yet. Here you can see the mortality. The mortality rate, however, they are associated in Europe, Italy, Spain, they are observing the highest mortality, and now US is shifting up. Iran has highest mortality, France 5.7.4%, and UK 5.16%, China 4.2%. So this is the current position. It may be changed with the when more data come. Um, uh, the seasonality, the pandemic, if we expect the other pandemics, it is similar to the MERS and SARS. Seasonality is associated, but the pattern of the corona is yet to be studied, and similarly the cycling and recurrence will be decided in the future. Then dynamics of COVID-19 is very important to study. Who is at risk? Those who have recent travel history to the area where human to human transmission of COVID-19 outbreak is reported, they are at risk. Those who are caring people infected with COVID-19 and the family member, healthcare workers, those in close contact with the animal and livestock, are market workers, they are at risk. As I have already mentioned, the people of any age, sex may got infection with COVID-19. However, reportedly the disease occur more severe in older patients and patients with any pre-existing chronic comorbidity. So this is the population at risk. Then what are the usual presentation or signs and symptoms? The data shows the disease is mild in about 80% of the patient and severe in 13% and critical in 6%. This is to be noted. Um, a mild in 80 and severe in 13 and 6% are critical. The most common symptoms are fever. It is about 90% of the cases, and fatigue, dry cough. The cough is about 60 to 70% of the cases, but yet these signs and symptoms are under study. Some patient may have aches and pains, runny nose, and it is uncommon symptoms, sore throat, and shortness of breath and diarrhea. Now, shortness of breath in critical conditions is most common symptoms. The COVID-19 differential diagnosis is very interesting. The condition which are simulating are the common cold, flu, and allergies. And the symptoms, this is the list of symptoms. But some trends can be interestingly observed that fever, dry cough is more common symptom with COVID-19. And it is also common in flu, but it is rare in common cold and in allergies. On the other hand, if we study the headaches, sore throat, and fatigue, diarrhea, it is uncommon with COVID-19, but it is very common with common cold and flu. And again, runny nose, very rare symptom in COVID-19, but it is very common with common cold and allergies. Shortness of breath is the conspicuous feature of COVID-19 as well as the allergies. The allergies and the COVID-19s are simulating in shortness of breath, but they are not matching with the fever and dry cough. So these are some points by which we can differentiate between these we can compare the symptoms. Differential diagnosis we can made on the basis of the symptoms. Now the diagnosis of COVID-19, the real-time PCR is the confirmatory test, and the test in Pakistan is available in National Institute of Health, Islamabad, and the samples specimens are taken from the suspect and contacts from the nasopharynx and oropharynx. Both samples are required. The both sample will increase the sensitivity. Similarly, from the patients who are admitted with respiratory tract symptoms, the expectorated sputum and endotracheal aspirate, they will be used as specimens. So, among the suspect, contacts and the patients, the specimens are collected and then subjected to the real-time PCR. Then mode of transmission is very important. As already have been discussed, it is zoonotic in origin. Then it enters into the human. Then person-to-person transmission is triggered. When the person-to-person transmission is triggered after the mutation, then the droplet infection is the main route, and contact transmission through the utilities and articles, fomites, soiled by the patient's contaminated objects, and airborne particles. So this is the common vehicle for the transmission. Let's see through diagram. This is the infected person. Through coughing, sneezing, and breathing, it emit the viruses, and then the airborne vehicles become evaporated through aerosols and droplets. They become part of the air. Either they are transmitted directly from person to person or indirectly through the air currents. So if there is close contact, then directly from person to person, and if there is some distance, then through airborne the droplets can get through and they can be inhaled by the susceptible person. The other route is through fomites, by touching and by using the things when they are when the hands are contaminated, and through hands when they are touching the nose, then again the inhalation is the main route for the transmission of the disease. So this is how the person to person, it is very sensitive and very little media is involved, direct transmission is there. So this is very infectious and communicable disease due to these characteristics. Then chain of transmission, if we see the reservoir, this is the first reservoir. Reservoirs are usually the infected persons, and they are categorized as patient, suspects, and contacts. These three categories, they are able to emit, they are known as the reservoir. And then they get the route of transmission. The route of transmission is through the droplets and airborne droplets, aerosols, ranging from 5 to 15 micron, and the virus is less than 5 micrometers, and they can get entry when the particles become smaller, and then through the air currents or with the contacts, they can reach to here, and this is the susceptible host. So three loop reservoir, route of transmission, and susceptible host. This model is presented to see where we can stop the virus transmission. Here the two medias, the air vehicle medias, air and the hands and the utilities, they are through contact, and air through air. And then where we can act, where we can stop the transmission. Let's see. This is the chain, three loop chain, reservoir, route of transmission, and susceptible host. We can break it here or here. Let's see how we can break the chain. This is the healthy person, elderly person, and low person with low immunity. They are the susceptible persons. So interruption of transmission, let's see what are the strategy. This is the infected person, this is the susceptible person, and these are the media of transmission. So where to put the barrier? So first we can put the barrier here. We can stop it at the level of patient, contact, and suspects. And then the other barrier we can stop here by entering into the susceptible host. The next barrier is here. So what are the strategy to we have the option on to break the chain either at this level or at this level. So let's act this barrier. This loop has to be removed in strategy of interruption of transmission of chain. So on this level, to protect at this level, the screening by PCR, isolation at health facility and home isolation, legal quarantine and home quarantine, and personal protection. These are the intervention under this barrier. If you put this barrier here, you have to do these actions. Screening, and then isolation, home isolation, quarantine, home quarantine, legal quarantine, and home quarantine. Then you have to do something about at this media to remove this loop. To remove this loop is the hand washing, use of sanitizers, personal hygiene, then social distancing, personal protection, avoiding gathering and avoiding congregations. These are the intervention on this loop. Then lastly, you can protect the host, susceptible host, through good nutrition, vitamin C, stay home, and use of personal protection, hygienic living. So these are the action to be taken on the susceptible host. So here we can put barrier, here we can put barrier, here we can protect the host. So these are the option for interruption of transmission of chain to stop this pandemic. These are the major intervention strategies for prevention of this epidemic. In next session we will deal with the deadly epidemic, how to deal with the deadly epidemic, and disease surveillance and response system we will study, and the stakeholders which are involved, and global and local actions to stop the deadly pandemic. So we will meet in the next session. Thank you very much.